The Eminence in Shadow, Season 2, Episode 4, aka Episode 24 overall, Mask of Falsehood. So yeah, this is the very first episode for the Great Trading Company conflict arc. It is the arc that I was thinking that it was going to be. Like in the previous episode, I mentioned that I think the next arc is going to be where Sid teams up with Yukimi to take on a funny rival. And yep, I was right. We start off with bandits holding hostage some ladies who work for Mitsugoshi Company. And Mitsugoshi Company is like this company that's basically running the markets. They are super popular. Everybody loves them and their items and clothing and stuff. And these bandits actually work for Garter. And Garter is the president of the Garter Corporation. And he also acts as the lead of the major corporate alliance. He basically banded all these different traders and stuff together to try to take on Mitsugoshi. And it turns out that Garter kind of comes across as like this benevolent kind of figure. He's a humanitarian. He's constantly donating money to the church. But in reality, he's this shrewd businessman who hires bandits and shady lowlives to take out the competition. Yeah, it turns out that Mitsugoshi are not just regular women. They are Shadow Garden members. And so they reveal themselves and they slaughter the bandits. And they basically get the information that they want. And that's the fact that Garter is hiring shady individuals and that the Cult of Diablos is involved. And we get like moments where we have Skell and Poe and they're representing Mitsugoshi items like clothing. And it turns out that's just a bunch of knockoff brands. And pretty much Mitsugoshi is like the leading brands in this city. Everybody wants to wear clothing from them. They're basically like Gucci in a sense. They're Armani. They're top of the line. And so Sid just kind of follows Skell and Poe as they go and start buying basically cheap knockoff brands. So there's this major corporate alliance. There are a bunch of traders, and they are having a huge sale. And the reason they're doing this is because they're thinking, okay, if we have a huge sale, then we'll get a bunch of people to come buy our stuff, and maybe they'll wear and buy our stuff rather than Mitsugoshi. So in order to try to tackle Mitsugoshi, we're going to lower our prices. And it turns out that Mitsugoshi has created their own currency. And of course, the major corporate alliance, like, all right, well, we got to go against that. So they create their own currency as well. And this entire time, Sid's like pissed off because he had like a flashback to where he's talking to Beta, Eta, and Gamma. And he's talking to them about banks and currency and stuff. Just like little information that he learned from this documentary. Beta, Eta, and Gamma are like super invested in this information and they're like jotting it down. And yeah, years later, they take that information that Sid gave them to not only start their own company, but also to create their own bank where they have created their own currency and now they're making a bunch of money. And this pisses off Sid because Sid's like, that was my idea. You stole my idea and now you're getting rich off of it. And the thing about Sid is that Shadow Garden is completely just blindly loyal to Sid. So if Sid just asked for money, they would have given to him. If Sid asked to lead the bank, they would have allowed him. But he believes that they're trying to cut him out from all this. So he's like, all right, I got to stop this. So in the previous episode, I mentioned that Sid's new antagonist and like the new arc is going to be kind of funny. And it's because the antagonist, or at least one of the antagonists, is Shadow Garden. So Sid's actually trying to destroy a company run by his own group. He's going against Shadow Garden. And basically what he wants to do is he wants to destroy the Mitsugoshi Company so that he can create a company, build it up, and he'll be the lead. He'll be in charge. So that's why he wants to take down Mitsugoshi. He wants to take down his own group because he wants to build it back up with him in the lead, with him as the president, with him in charge, rather than one of the Shadow Garden member ladies. Unknown to him, they will happily make him in charge and give him whatever he wants. He just has to ask for it. But instead, he decides to don a disguise. And the disguise he goes with is this masked individual who kind of looks like Joker from Persona. And he gives the greatest name ever for the disguise, and that's John Smith. So yeah, Sid, now going by the name John Smith, meets up with Yukimi, and they come up with a plan to tackle the major corporate alliance as well as the Mitsugoshi Company. So Yukimi wants to basically get a piece of this pie that both sides are making. But she realizes that both sides are too strong for her to take out on her own. So of course she comes to Shadow to help her. And of course it's funny because like she refers to him as Shadow, and he's like, I have discarded that name. I am now John Smith. But Sid's like talking about currency and banks and like the way this stuff all works out and things. And it's giving me very Spice and Wolf vibes, you know, with the whole like economy situation. And then you also have the fact that Yukimi is a fox girl. So you have that. And there's also another interesting thing, which I'm sure they had to have done it on purpose. They so for Sid's disguise as John Smith, they got a new voice actor. Like, you have the same voice actor for Sid and for Shadow and stuff, but whenever Sid is John Smith, the new voice actor is Jun Fukuyama. And if that name is not familiar, Jun Fukuyama plays Kraft Lawrence from Spice and Wolf. Yeah, it's like a little nod to that series. And I was like, you guys had to have done that on purpose. So it's just kind of funny because, yeah, you have this like whole economy situation. You have Sid working with this fox girl. And then, of course, you have Jun Fukuyama doing the voice for Sid's disguise whenever he's working with Yukimi and stuff. So I was like, okay, that was pretty good. Throughout all this, Yukimi's like, so you want us to create our own currency? Like, or you want us to like fake the currency that the major corporate alliance is making? Because she's looking at the two different bills, one from Mitsugoshi and one from major corporate alliance. And she realizes that the one from Mitsugoshi is like very well detailed. It has its own watermark. Meanwhile, the one from major corporate alliance is very rough. It's not as detailed. And so Yukimi believes that Sid, aka John Smith, wants to try to create these fake bills. But she tells him that I think it's the church. I can't remember if it was the Church of the Kingdom is the only one that makes the bills. So if they were to make the bills themselves, it would easily be discovered that it's a fake. And Sid just kind of stares at her. And then she's like, oh, was that your plan all along? That we would create all these fake bills and then it'll be discovered that it's fake? And then the people will start questioning whether the bill that they have is fake or not. So you were banking on the fact that we would get caught. And Sid's like, he doesn't say anything, but in his mind, he's like, holy shit, that's a good idea. So Yukimi is the one that actually comes up with this idea, but she believes that Sid's actually the one that came with the idea and he was just testing her. So, yeah, they come up with this idea where they're going to basically create a bunch of fake bills, put it out into the market, have it be discovered that there's a bunch of fake bills out there, and then the people will start wondering if their bills are fake or not, and it'll just crash the market. So that's the plan. So Sid goes and he's just like having dinner, and that's when the best girl shows up, Delta. And Delta's freaking awesome. She's amazing. And yeah, she just kind of hangs around with Sid, literally hanging from Sid. And just talking about how Alpha sent her to go hunt down some bandits. And Sid's like trying to ask like, why are you here in the city? And eventually it's because she's supposed to have a meeting with Alpha, but she completely forgot. Instead of going to meet Alpha to have this meeting, she instead decides to hang out with her beloved master, Sid. And so we get a bunch of like fan service where we get shots of Delta's jiggling breast and bodacious ass. And yeah, she's not faking that. Unlike Epsilon, there's no slime padding here. Instead, Delta is all natural. One of the reasons why she's the best girl. So we have a situation where Sid and Delta work together to take out Clover. Or I should say Delta's the one that takes out Clover, which are a group of mercenaries. So basically, Garter, he runs the major corporate alliance. Well, he's actually the figurehead. The actual leader is this guy named Gettan. And Gettan is a beastkin. He's, I believe, a wolfkin. And Gettan is part of the Cult of Diablos. He is a very vicious man. He controls a bunch of bandits and stuff like that. And he has this prolific mercenary group called the Clovers. And so first he gives bandits to Garter to try to stop the Mitsugoshi Company. But when that fails, he's like, all right, we're going to send the Clovers. And so we see Sid in the sewers with Delta. And Delta is slaughtering a bunch of Clovers while laughing maniacally, which is why she's awesome. Meanwhile, Sid is basically stealing some of the currency, some of the bills that the major corporate alliance have, so that he can make false ones. And it turns out that the person that's leading this specific group of Clovers is Delta's brother, because the brother recognizes Delta and even calls her by her true name, which is Sarah. So he's like, Sarah, is that you? I thought you were dead. Like, Dad told me that you were possessed by, you had the demonic possession and that he had to take you out. And, Delta reveals that obviously she's not dead. And so her brother is like, why don't you join forces with me? Let me live and you can join the Clovers. We can work for Gettan. We can, run this town. And Delta just nonchalantly stabs him in the chest with her tail and kills him. And basically says that she doesn't have time for weak people. And then Sid's like, that was your brother? Like, that's kind of drastic. And Delta's like, yeah, like my dad, he's like the leader of the tribe. And he has like hundreds of wives. So there's like thousands of kids. So what's one less brother? So they start like walking away, and then Delta jumps onto Sid and basically says, I have an idea. Why don't you go and kill my father, and then you can take control of the tribe, and then you can have hundreds of wives. I'll even help you, and then we can have hundreds of babies. And Sid's like, no, I'm not interested in that. And that's pretty much like the end of the episode. We get a little bit of Gettan where we see him staring out the window and he's holding I think it's a watch with the symbol of the Cult of Diablos on it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So we have the Mitsugoshi Company going against the major corporate alliance. Meanwhile, we have Sid going by the name of John Smith teaming up with Yukimi to go against the major corporate alliance as well as Mitsugoshi. So he's going to go after his own team in a sense, just because he is envious of the fact that they took his idea and were able to build this gigantic company that's making so much money, creating their own bank, their own currency, and he's pissed off that he doesn't have a piece of that pie, despite the fact that they would be happy to give him the entire pie if he just asked for it. But yeah, this is going to be a funny arc where Sid goes against Shadow Garden. And Shadow Garden has no idea. I guess a little bit of spoiler. They have no idea that Sid is John Smith. So, yeah, Shadow Garden and Sid are going against each other, with Shadow Garden having no idea that Sid is going against them. This hopefully going to lead to some funny moments. It led to some funny moments in the manga. Hopefully we'll see that in the anime. But yeah, there you go. There is episode 24. I loved it. It's awesome. And of course, anytime we get to see Best Girl Delta, I'm excited. Especially when we get fan service of her, which we got a lot of. So yeah, I can't complain. But there you go. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Take care. Later.